Good morning, everybody. So today we are going to do the next concept in the introduction, which is called les accents. Les accents in English is the accents. The word accent in English refers to the way you pronounce a word. So you have an American accent, you have an English-British accent. So we are also going to learn something about accents, the way of pronunciation in French, which are indicated through certain symbols. When you look at a French script, you will find certain symbols written either above or below certain letters, which either have a specific way of pronunciation or it is indicative of a specific function. So what we are going to learn now is les accents. Les accents, pronounced as les accents. The first accent that we are going to learn, the symbol, is called accent aigu. It is written, you can remember it on your right hand, so that it is easy to remember which side it is written, how it is written. It's called accent aigu. Aigu is the name of the accent. It's not compulsory that you need to remember the name of the accent as much as you need to remember why it is written and where it is written. This accent aigu is written only on the letter. What is the pronunciation of this? This is a. So this is written only on a. Now when I write it on a, the pronunciation changes from a to a. There is no a in French. So if I want an a sound in a word, then I write accent aigu on top of a. So the pronunciation changes from a to a. For example, été, été, which means summer, summer. The next accent that you will be learning is called accent grave. You will remember it on your left hand and the intonation is like this. It's called accent grave. You remember accent aigu on your right hand and you remember accent grave on your left hand. So this accent is called accent grave. And this is written on a, u. So this can be written either on a or on a or on u. Let me first explain the significance with regard to a. Then I will get back to a and u. Now what is the pronunciation of this? This is a. What's the pronunciation of this? This is a. So when I write accent grave on top of a, the pronunciation changes to a. The intonation is down, a. This is for you to remember the pronunciation. For example, père, mère, père, mère. So the sound is air. So here you need to put the accent grave, which gives you the air sound. If you by mistake put this accent here, then the pronunciation changes to a. And just like how you make a mistake in spellings, that will also be considered a spelling mistake. So if you write like this, this is considered a spelling mistake because the pronunciation you've changed it to père and not père. So that is the significance of writing accent grave on top of a. The pronunciation changes to a. Now let me come to on top of a and u. In English, we have something called homophones and homonyms. We have certain words which will be spelt in the same way, which will be pronounced in the same way, but which will have different meanings. For example, when you say right, R-I-G-H-T, right can be the right side, it can also be correct. So similarly, in French, you have certain words which are homophones or homonyms. So when I write a, it indicates the verb has. But when I write a accent grave, it means the preposition to, at, or in. So it is only to differentiate between two words which have the same pronunciation and same spelling, but which has a different function. So there is no pronunciation change here. So a accent grave indicates a preposition. A without the accent grave indicates the verb conjugated in the third person singular, he has or she has. Is that clear? Now let's go to you. Again an example. When I write OU, U with an accent grave, it indicates a question word where. It's an interrogative question word where. U without the accent grave indicates the conjunction or. So to differentiate between two totally different meaning words, we write the accent grave on top of U, which is where, and U without the accent grave means or, which is a conjunction, pen or pencil. So let's move on to the next accent, which is called accent circonflexe. Accent circonflexe. So this is like a chapeau. This is like a hat. And this accent can be written on top of any of the letters of the vowels A, E, I, O, U. Here again, there is no pronunciation change. But by and large, it has a specific reason for why it has been written on top of any of the vowels. Now, many of the words, now let's go into the etymology of words, that is the origin of words. So many of the words in French have been borrowed either from Latin or from English. So writing a circumflex on top of any of the vowels indicates that the word has been borrowed from a foreign language where the S has been omitted next to the letter on which it is written. I know what I'm saying is a little complicated, but let me give you an example and you'll understand it better. For example, let's look at this word foray. Foray is a word which is borrowed from the English forest, which means the same. Now writing a circumflex on top of a indicates an omission of S next to it from the foreign language from which it is borrowed. So this is borrowed from forest, an English word where the S is omitted, which is indicated by the presence of the circumflex. So here there is no specific pronunciation change. But also in French, for every rule there is an exception. There are some words in which a circumflex is written where it does not indicate an omission of S, but the French, when they created the language, wanted it there. We'll move on to the next accent. Which is written like this. This is called la cédille. You can already see the accent aigu here, which gives you the A sound. The pronunciation is sedi, la sedi. Now this is written below C, but I am going to write terms and conditions apply. Why I am saying terms and conditions apply? The pronunciation of this letter in French is say. It takes the S sound. This letter takes the S sound. But when say is followed by A or O or U, always takes the K sound or the G sound. But say followed by A and E, which is E and I, retains the original S sound. See, for example, this is sedi. So say followed by A, it retains the original S sound. The earlier accent that you studied, which is circumflex, this is say, sir, but this is con. It takes the K sound. So say followed by A or O or U always takes the K sound or the G sound. So let me give you some examples. Calcul, 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 which means calculation. Second, second takes the G sound, means seconds. So what happens when say is followed by A, O, U and it needs to retain the original S sound, then you put the sedi below the C. So which is why I said terms and conditions apply. That is, when say is followed by A, O, U and it is mandatory for it to retain the original S sound, then you put the sedi below the C. For example, if you write it like this, it's wrong because the pronunciation is franque. Say followed by A, it needs to retain the original S sound. You put the sedi below the C. Français. Leçon. Reçu. So français means French. Leçon means lesson. Reçu means receipt. The receipt that you get when you make a payment. We'll go to the next accent, which is called le tréma. Le tréma. Now, when there are two vowels next to each other in French, there is no special indicative pronunciation, but it takes the pronunciation as it comes together. For example, A and E together. This is say, A, E. The pronunciation is say. That is, there is a merging of the pronunciation of A and E. But when I want to stress on one vowel more than the other, then I put the tréma on top of that. For example, now this word is mais. Mais, which means but. This word means maize. I'm stressing the E more than the A. So when there are two vowels next to each other and I need to stress one more than the other, then I put the tréma on top of that vowel. Maize, which means corn or maize. The next example I want to give here is Noël. The E is stressed more than the O. Noël. So a quick recap on the accent aigu, which is written only on A, where the pronunciation changes to A. Accent grave, which is written on A, U, where the pronunciation changes to A. And if it is written on A and U, it is indicative of a homophone or a homonym, where to distinguish between two similar words. The third one, which is accent circumflex, which can be written on top of any of the vowels. Here it indicates certain words borrowed from foreign languages where the S has been omitted. But sometimes there are also certain words where it is written where it does not indicate an omission of S. Then la sedi, where it is written below C, only when se needs to retain the original S sound, and le trema, where there are two vowels next to each other and one needs to be stressed more than the other, then you write the trema. Thank you.